Before we begin, take a look at the spare change sitting in your pocket, in your car's cup holder, or hidden inside an old coin jar. Because one ordinary-looking nickel from 1998 has sparked an extraordinary mystery among collectors. Could a simple 5-cent coin featuring Thomas Jefferson and his famous Monticello estate actually be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars? And if so, what secret transforms an everyday coin into a modern treasure worth an astonishing $998,000? The story of the 1998 P. Jefferson nickel begins in a place that has produced some of America's most valuable treasures for more than 2 centuries, the United States Mint. Specifically, our journey takes us to the Philadelphia Mint, where millions upon millions of nickels rolled off production lines in 1998, destined for cash registers, vending machines, and pockets across America. At first glance, there seems to be absolutely nothing special about this coin. It bears the familiar portrait of America's third president, Thomas Jefferson, a design that Americans had seen for decades. The reverse features Monticello, Jefferson's beloved Virginia estate, rendered in intricate detail. To most people, it's simply pocket change. But history has a fascinating habit of hiding extraordinary stories inside ordinary objects. The Jefferson nickel series itself has a remarkable history. Introduced in 1938, it replaced the famous Buffalo nickel and became one of the longest-running coin designs in American history. 4 generations of Americans, these nickels represented everyday commerce, passed from hand to hand without a second thought. Yet collectors understood something that most people didn't. Every coin tells a story, and sometimes those stories become incredibly valuable. In 1998, the Philadelphia Mint produced more than 896 million Jefferson nickels. That's nearly 1 billion coins. With such enormous production numbers, you might wonder how any of these nickels could possibly become rare. After all, rarity usually means scarcity. And that's where the mystery begins. Among the hundreds of millions of ordinary 1998 P nickels, a tiny number emerged with extraordinary characteristics. Some displayed dramatic minting errors. Others were struck under unusual circumstances. And a select few, preserved in nearly flawless condition, achieved a level of perfection so exceptional that collectors were willing to pay staggering amounts to own them. Imagine finding a nickel in your pocket today and learning that it might be worth more than a luxury mansion. It sounds impossible, yet the world of rare coin collecting is filled with stories exactly like that. One of the most fascinating aspects of the 1998 P. Jefferson nickel involves the pursuit of perfection. Professional grading services evaluate coins on a scale from 1 to 70. A score of 70 represents absolute perfection, a coin without visible flaws, struck with extraordinary precision, and preserved in pristine condition. Now consider this. Among nearly 900 million nickels produced in Philadelphia during 1998, only a microscopic fraction survive in what experts consider near perfect or perfect condition. Why? Because coins were never intended to be preserved. They were made to circulate, to jingle in pockets, to be exchanged for coffee, groceries, or gasoline. Every scratch, every fingerprint, every encounter with another coin slowly erodes perfection. Yet somehow, a few escaped that fate. Perhaps they were saved by collectors immediately after leaving the mint. Maybe they sat untouched inside bank vaults for decades. Or perhaps someone unknowingly placed them in a drawer and forgot about them entirely. Those surviving examples have become the focus of intense competition among collectors. But condition isn't the only factor that can create enormous value. Error coins occupy a legendary place in American numismatics. During the minting process, even the smallest mechanical malfunction can transform an ordinary coin into a one-of-a-kind artifact. Off-center strikes, double strikes, die cracks, clipped planchets, and doubled dies have all captivated collectors for generations. Think about it. A mistake that would normally be considered a manufacturing defect suddenly becomes a treasure precisely because it should never have existed. It's one of the great ironies of collecting. The 1998 P. Jefferson nickel has been associated with several notable varieties and errors, some commanding significant premiums. Collectors spend countless hours examining their pocket change under magnification, searching for tiny details invisible to the naked eye. And every once in a while, someone makes an incredible discovery. There are documented cases throughout American coin history of people finding rare coins worth thousands, or even hundreds of thousands, of dollars in ordinary circulation. A coin handed back as change at a convenience store, a forgotten piggy bank, an inherited collection gathering dust in an attic. These stories fuel an almost irresistible question. What if the next great discovery is already sitting in your home? The cultural significance of the Jefferson nickel adds another fascinating layer to its story. Thomas Jefferson was more than a president. He was a philosopher, architect, inventor, and one of the principal architects of the American experiment itself. His home, Monticello, became a symbol of American ingenuity and ambition. For over 60 years, millions of Americans carried that symbol in their pockets every single day without giving it much thought. Yet collectors see something different. They see history compressed into a small metal disc. They see artistry. They see craftsmanship. And occasionally, they see opportunity. The modern coin market has transformed dramatically over recent decades. Thanks to online auctions and global collector networks, rare coins can achieve astonishing prices. A coin once valued at a few dollars can suddenly become the subject of fierce bidding wars involving collectors from around the world. When headlines emerge suggesting values approaching hundreds of thousands of dollars, or even the legendary figure of $998,000, they ignite imaginations everywhere. But here's the crucial question. Could your 1998 P. Jefferson nickel actually be one of those extraordinary examples? The answer depends on several factors: condition, rarity, strike quality, preservation, and the presence of significant mint errors or exceptional characteristics recognized by professional grading services. Most 1998 P nickels remain worth their face value or modest collector premiums. But some are different, and that's what makes the hunt so compelling. Every collector remembers the thrill of examining a coin under bright light for the first time, the excitement of spotting an unusual detail, the possibility that history, rarity, and fortune might have converged in the palm of your hand. It's a feeling that transcends money, because ultimately, collecting coins isn't just about wealth. It's about discovery. It's about holding a piece of history that survived decades, sometimes centuries, to tell its story. And perhaps that's why stories like the 1998 P. Jefferson nickel continue to captivate millions of people around the world. They remind us that extraordinary things often hide in ordinary places. So tonight, before you dismiss that jar of spare change sitting on your shelf, take another look. Examine every nickel. Study the dates. Inspect the mint marks. Because somewhere out there, an ordinary-looking Jefferson nickel may still be waiting to reveal an extraordinary secret. And if you happen to discover a 1998 P. Jefferson nickel hiding in your collection, the real question isn't whether it's worth 5 cents. The real question is, what if it's worth a fortune? If you enjoyed this journey into the fascinating world of hidden treasures and rare coins, make sure to subscribe and join us for more incredible stories where history, mystery, and fortune collide. Because sometimes, the greatest treasure hunt of all begins with the change in your pocket. Have you ever checked the spare change sitting in your pocket and wondered if one small coin could change your life forever? Imagine discovering that a simple nickel, worth just 5 cents when it was minted, might hold a secret that collectors have spent decades chasing. Today, we're diving into the fascinating story of the 1999 D. Thomas Jefferson Monticello nickel, a coin surrounded by rumors, internet legends, collector excitement, and a surprising truth that very few people actually understand. At first glance, the 1999 D. Jefferson nickel looks ordinary. It features the familiar portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the front and his beloved home, Monticello, on the reverse. Millions of Americans carried these coins in their pockets, dropped them into vending machines, and tossed them into jars without a second thought. But what if one of those ordinary nickels wasn't so ordinary after all? To understand why collectors still search for the 1999 D. Jefferson nickel, we have to travel back to the end of the 20th century. The year was 1999. America was preparing for a new millennium. The internet was rapidly changing the world, and the United States Mint was producing billions of coins to meet the demands of a growing economy. Among those coins was the Jefferson nickel, a series that had already been circulating for more than 60 years. First introduced in 1938, the Jefferson nickel replaced the Buffalo nickel and became one of the most recognizable coins in American history. The design featured America's third president, Thomas Jefferson, on the obverse and his Virginia estate, Monticello, on the reverse. The 1999 D nickel was struck at the Denver Mint, identified by the small d, mint mark located to the right of Jefferson's portrait. And here's the first surprise. This coin wasn't rare at all. In fact, the Denver Mint produced more than 563 million Jefferson nickels in 1999. So why do collectors continue searching through rolls, jars, and old collections looking for this coin? The answer lies in something that transforms ordinary coins into extraordinary treasures: condition, errors, and the thrill of the hunt. For most Americans, a nickel is simply worth 5 cents. But in the world of numismatics, tiny differences can mean the difference between pocket change and a coin worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Imagine two identical 1999 D nickels sitting side by side. One spent years bouncing around in pockets, cash registers, and coin jars. The other was preserved from the moment it left the mint, untouched and flawless. To the average person, they might appear identical. To a collector, they belong to entirely different worlds. This is where the story becomes fascinating. Professional grading services evaluate coins using a scale ranging from 1 to 70. The closer a coin gets to the perfect score of 70, the more valuable it becomes. While millions of 1999 D nickels survive today, very few remain in truly pristine condition. Some examples graded at the highest levels have sold for surprisingly strong prices at auction. Not because they are rare coins in general, but because perfect examples are extraordinarily difficult to find. But condition isn't the only factor driving collector interest. Throughout American coinage history, minting errors have created some of the most valuable treasures ever discovered. Double strikes, off-center strikes, déclics, misaligned d's, missing clad layers. These manufacturing accidents transform ordinary coins into one-of-a-kind artifacts. This has led countless treasure hunters to search through 1999 D Jefferson nickels, hoping to discover an overlooked mint error hiding in plain sight. And sometimes those searches pay off. Collectors have reported examples featuring dramatic die breaks, unusual strikes, and other mint anomalies. While most are not worth fortunes, some error coins can command hundreds of dollars depending on their rarity and visual appeal. But perhaps the most fascinating part of the 1999 D Jefferson nickel story isn't the coin itself. It's the mythology surrounding it. If you've spent any time online searching for valuable coins, you've probably seen sensational headlines claiming that ordinary nickels are worth hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars. Stories circulate about a 5-cent coin selling for nearly $1 million. Videos promise hidden treasures sitting in your spare change. Social media posts spread rapidly, turning common coins into legendary objects overnight. So, could a 1999 D Jefferson nickel really be worth $999,000? The truth is both disappointing and exciting. There is no verified public record of a standard 1999 D Jefferson nickel selling for anything close to $1 million. Those extraordinary numbers often result from misunderstandings, listing errors, exaggerated claims, or confusion with entirely different coins. Yet that doesn't stop collectors from searching. Why? Because history has shown that incredible discoveries do happen. In 1943, copper pennies that should never have existed became some of the most famous error coins in American history. Certain double-die coins have sold for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Unique minting mistakes have turned ordinary pocket change into museum-worthy treasures. Every collector understands a simple truth. Somewhere, hidden among billions of coins, remarkable discoveries are still waiting to be found. And that's what makes coin collecting so addictive. Every jar of change becomes a treasure chest. Every old coin collection becomes an archaeological dig. Every nickel becomes a possibility. The Jefferson nickel itself carries a remarkable historical legacy. Thomas Jefferson was not merely a president. He was a philosopher, architect, diplomat, and one of the principal authors of the Declaration of Independence. His home, Monticello, represented his vision of America, blending innovation, education, and Enlightenment ideals. For decades, Americans carried this piece of history in their pockets without realizing it. Every Jefferson nickel served as a tiny monument to one of the nation's founding figures. The 1990 nickel represents something even more unique. It marks the final years before the United States Mint introduced major redesigns of the Jefferson Nickels series in the early 2000s. In many ways, it belongs to the closing chapter of a classic American coin design that had remained largely unchanged for generations. Today, collectors continue searching for exceptional examples of the 1999 D nickel. Most are worth only face value. Uncirculated examples may bring a modest premium. Exceptional mint state specimens can attract serious collector attention, and rare era varieties remain the dream that keeps the hunt alive. So the next time you receive change of store, pause for a moment before dropping that nickel into a jar. Look closely. Check the date. Find a mint mark. Ask yourself a question that has inspired generations of treasure hunters, collectors, and dreamers. What if this ordinary coin isn't ordinary at all? Because the true value of the 1999 D Jefferson nickel may not be measured in dollars. It may be measured in curiosity, in history, in the excitement of discovery, and in the possibility, however small, that the next great treasure is still hiding in plain sight. If you enjoyed uncovering the hidden stories behind America's coins, make sure to subscribe and join us on our next journey into the fascinating world of rare coins, forgotten treasures, and the extraordinary history hiding in everyday pocket change. I'd like to tell you a story about a coin that millions of Americans have held in their hands without a second thought. A coin so common that most people toss it into jars, leave it in cup holders, or drop it between couch cushions. But what if I told you that one particular version of this everyday coin has sparked treasure hunts, fueled collector obsession, and inspired countless people to search through their pocket change with newfound excitement? The coin we're talking about is the 2006 P. Thomas Jefferson Monticello nickel. And while most of these nickels are worth exactly 5 cents, certain examples have captured the attention of collectors and internet treasure hunters who believe that hidden among billions of ordinary coins could be specimens worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. But here's the question that keeps collectors awake at night. Could one of the most overlooked coins in modern American history actually be hiding a fortune in plain sight? To understand the fascination surrounding the 2006 P. Jefferson nickel, we have to travel back more than 2 centuries, to a time when the United States was still a young and uncertain nation. At the center of this story stands one of America's most influential figures, Thomas Jefferson, the 3rd President of the United States, principal author of the Declaration of Independence, and a man whose vision helped shape the nation itself. Jefferson's image first appeared on the American nickel in 1938, replacing the famous Buffalo nickel. For decades, generations of Americans carried Jefferson's portrait in their pockets, often without giving much thought to the historical figure staring back at them. But in 2004 and 2005, the United States Mint embarked on a historic redesign program known as the Westward Journey Nickel Series, commemorating the Lewis and Clark expedition and America's westward expansion. Then, in 2006, something significant happened. The Jefferson nickel returned to its classic roots, but with a dramatic twist. The United States Mint introduced a newly designed portrait of Thomas Jefferson, created by artist Jamie Franke. Unlike the traditional profile view Americans had seen for nearly 70 years, this new design featured Jefferson facing forward, looking directly at the observer. It was the first forward-facing presidential portrait ever placed on a circulating American coin. For many Americans, this change seemed minor. But for collectors, it marked the beginning of a new era in Jefferson nickel history. The reverse side returned to the iconic image of Monticello, Jefferson's beloved Virginia estate. This architectural masterpiece had appeared on nickels for generations and symbolized not only Jefferson's personal legacy, but also the enduring ideals of early America. Now, here's where the story becomes even more fascinating. The P mint mark on these nickels indicates they were struck at the Philadelphia Mint, one of the oldest and most historic minting facilities in the United States. In 2006 alone, the Philadelphia Mint produced over 809 million Jefferson Nickels. That's right, more than 800 million. At first glance, such a massive production number would seem to eliminate any possibility of rarity. After all, how can something produced hundreds of millions of times ever become valuable? But experienced coin collectors know a secret that casual observers often miss. In the world of numismatics, rarity isn't always about how many coins were made. Sometimes, it's about how many exceptional examples survived. Imagine two identical nickels leaving the Philadelphia Mint in 2006. One enters circulation immediately, passing through thousands of hands over the next 20 years, accumulating scratches, wear, and damage. The other somehow remains untouched, preserved in pristine condition, retaining every microscopic detail exactly as it appeared on the day it was struck. Suddenly, those two nickels are no longer equal. This is where the excitement surrounding the 2006 P. Jefferson nickel truly begins. Collectors have discovered that certain high-grade examples of this coin, especially those certified in extraordinary mint state condition, can command prices far beyond their face value. Coins graded at the highest levels by professional grading services have sold for hundreds of dollars, and in exceptionally rare circumstances, specialized varieties or error coins can attract even greater attention. But what about the astonishing claims circulating online about 2006 P nickels being worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, or even the eye-popping figure of $926,000? The truth is both more complicated and, in some ways, even more interesting. Throughout the history of coin collecting, sensational stories have fueled public imagination. Tales of ordinary people discovering extraordinary treasures in their spare change have captivated audiences for generations. Sometimes these stories are based on genuine auction results involving unique mint errors, experimental strikes, or one-of-a-kind specimens. Other times, they emerge from misunderstandings, speculation, or exaggerated online listings. As of current verified numismatic records, there is no confirmed public sale of a standard 2006 P. Jefferson nickel for anywhere near $926,000. However, this doesn't diminish the thrill of the hunt. Because hidden within the world of modern coin collecting lies an extraordinary reality. Tiny details can transform an ordinary coin into a prized collectible. Collectors searching through 2006 P nickels often look for unusual characteristics. They examine the strength of the strike, the sharpness of Jefferson's hair details, the clarity of the Monticello building, and any potential minting anomalies. They search for double dies, off-center strikes, die cracks, clipped planchets, and other manufacturing errors that can dramatically increase a coin's desirability. Think about that for a moment. A machine operating at incredible speed inside the Philadelphia Mint makes a tiny mistake for just a fraction of a second. That split-second error creates a coin unlike millions of others. Years later, someone discovers it in a jar of spare change, and suddenly, an object worth 5 cents becomes a piece of numismatic history. Stories like these explain why millions of Americans continue searching through their coins today. Perhaps the most remarkable aspect of the 2006 P. Jefferson nickel isn't its potential value at all. It's what the coin represents. This humble nickel connects us to Thomas Jefferson himself, a man who lived over 200 years ago. It connects us to the craftsmen and artists of the United States Mint. It connects us to the countless Americans who have carried these coins in their pockets, spent them at grocery stores, dropped them into vending machines, and unknowingly participated in an ongoing historical journey. Every scratch tells a story. Every preserved specimen preserves a moment in time. And every collector searching through pocket change participates in a tradition that stretches back centuries. So the next time you receive a handful of coins as change, pause for just a moment. Look closely at that Jefferson nickel. Notice the forward-facing portrait. Examine the details of Monticello. Consider the extraordinary journey that tiny piece of metal has taken. Could it be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars? Almost certainly not. Could it be worth more than 5 cents? Possibly. But perhaps its greatest value lies elsewhere, in the mystery, the history, and the enduring possibility that treasure can still hide in the most ordinary places. And that's what makes coin collecting so fascinating. Because sometimes, the real treasure isn't the money you might find. It's the story you've been holding in your hand all along. So tell me, have you ever searched through your pocket change looking for hidden treasures? And if you found a rare coin worth a fortune tomorrow morning, would you sell it? Or keep the story forever?